Hello guys, it's been a while and I know you've been wondering where have I been. I think the last time we did an episode has been a month or so. And so I just decided to, work on a few things, make a couple of updates. So you would notice you have me here and you have me here, right? You also look behind me, you'd see a couple of new additions, not just new additions, a whole lot of changes has been going on. And I hope you love the feel. I hope you love the views. A couple of people give their feedback and we decided to, just make things change a little bit. Yeah, right. And yeah, so we have what we have. And very quickly today would be talking about a very sensitive topic, right? And it's about ladies who grew up with absent fathers. Now, how you would know that this is you is that, either your father walked away from you when you were little, or maybe your father had a divorce from your mom, and so you had to grow up with, just your mom. Or maybe your father was very busy and, didn't have enough time for you. The essential point is that your father, for one reason or the other, wasn't there for you, right? And, if this is you, right? If you're deprived of time with your dad for one reason or the other, then this is definitely for you. Hello, my name is Victor Akan, and I would like to welcome you to my Breath of Hope podcast channel. And, very quickly, for this episode, I would want to, I always like to start from the foundation of things, right? And I would like to go back to the beginning, before civilization took place. And, before civilization took place, we had, of course, smallest things, which was the family. You had the fathers, you had the mothers. The father's job was to ensure that, there was protection and there was, provision, right? So the fathers will have to go hunting, will have to go to war, will basically have to ensure that their family, their community was kept safe, right? And so the women in turn would have to, stay back to ensure that they are ensuring that nurture takes place, right? And so you have, these women who needed the protection of the men, right, in form of husbands. Now you have their children. When they have sons, the sons are groomed for, to be men. And then when you have daughters, the daughters are basically groomed to be nurturers, right? But, for these ladies to come out as whole beings, right? For them to have, that good nurturing spirit in them, that good feel of, understanding who they are, why they are here, right? They would need the supply from the dad and the supply from the mom. And of course, I understand that, we don't always live in a very traditional setting, right now into this society. But you would have to agree with me that the essential ingredients, that the children need, in the family still exist. And what that looks like right now is that, you have the father who still takes charge of the environment. Take for instance now, you're a woman, someone comes to rob your house and then your husband goes behind you to go and hide. Would you still afford him the same level of respect, right? So there is still that expectation of men to still be protectors, even though we are in a civilized, relatively safer society, right? And of course, there's still some sort of level of expectations for women to have more maternal instincts, right? When you have children eventually, your son, needs to feel like, okay, he has this fatherly figure, that will basically teach him on how to be a man. And then your daughter still has that need for protection, that need for covering. And then that need for love basically comes as in form of protection, in form of, I need this big man that is going to be my hero. I need this big one that treats me like an egg. Because when he's able to give me that form of protective love, that form of love that basically says that, I feel very safe in the world, right? That is essentially speaking or communicating certain things to her. Number one, it is essentially communicating to her that she has someone that thinks that she is worth it enough, to be around and to, protect her, and generally, women always have the need for quality time. Women always have the need for attention, right? So it also speaks to her that this person that is there to protect her thinks that she's also worthy enough, for basically grooming, for him to be able to spend time with her, right? And I always say that human beings are social beings, and what this means is that we have a fundamental need, and that's the need for love, that's the need for validation, that's the need to feel accepted, that's the need to feel like we're a part of something, that's the need to feel understood, right? That's the need to feel like we can be vulnerable and will not be judged. Human beings are social beings. And so what this means is that this very little girl that needs to be treated like an egg, that needs to be pampered, that needs to be loved, that needs to feel a covering of protection, that needs to have her first hero, right? That person that is so selfless about her and puts his own needs, above her own, she needs to have these things. And so when these things have been taken away, what you have is someone who doesn't think that she is deserving of love, someone who doesn't think that she's deserving of attention, someone who doesn't think that she's deserving of care. If that person that was meant to fulfill all of these fundamental things to her, that was this fatherly figure that was meant to be that covering for her, that was meant to tell her that you matter enough for me to want to be there for you, to protect you, to basically treat you like that my precious egg that I would never let go for any reason in the world. If that person eventually lets go during her formative stages, then it's only speaking one thing to her. It's speaking that you don't matter enough for me to have stayed, right? And in a case whereby maybe the father was just busy, it's speaking something to her. It's saying that, not on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level, it's saying that my work is more important than spending time with you, right? If it's a dad who divorced the mom and she didn't get to spend enough time with the dad, it's basically saying that, you didn't matter enough for me to walk through my marriage for you, right? And then if it's a guy that, abandoned the mom for another woman, it's basically saying that you didn't matter enough for me to stay, right? That woman that I left you for was more important than you, right? And so you would notice something underneath. This lady or whatever lady that has to go through this issue, right? Of course, we'll have different, reactions, we'll have different side effects, right? But fundamentally, we are saying one thing: you don't matter enough, right? And that essentially, escalates to a series of side effects, right? So feeling, insecure, feeling like you're not enough, feeling like you don't matter, and things like that. So basically, you're going to have to struggle with all of these things as a lady, because the fundamental thing that was required for you to have that feeling of wholeness, that feeling of self-confidence, that feeling of self-assurance that you are enough was missing. And so the foundation is lacking. And so one very eventual outcome would be that this lady will try to find validation. So again, human beings are social beings. And what that means is that because you didn't get this at your formative stage, and you need this because on the hierarchy of need, you need to feel loved. You're going to eventually go and get love. If Muhammad does not go to the mountain will go to Muhammad. So what that means is that if you did not get that love at home, you would have to go and find that love outside. And how do you find that love? In your romantic relationships. And this is a mistake. And the reason why this is a mistake is because you don't go into romantic relationships looking for wholeness. You go into romantic relationship from a point of wholeness, looking to build something, looking to build a future. You're looking to achieve purpose, looking to make beautiful memories. Right? A very simple example for those of you that want to argue, right, is a man who is likely to beat a woman has no business being in a relationship until he fixes or until he fixes that issue. So for instance, now, any small thing my baby says, I give her like 1 or 2 slaps. I have no business being in a relationship with her. I need to go for therapy and ensure that I am whole enough, right? And my mind is clear. I'm healed. Whatever trauma I faced that led me to that monstrous character development has gone, right? And so you'd realize that there are certain requirements that are needed for you to be in a relationship, right? And those requirements would entail that you are able to, have attained a certain level of wholeness before you get into that relationship. And the reason why this is very important is because you would have undue expectations on your relationships. And what that kind of paints a picture of is, imagine that you're in a relationship, and let's give an example. Let's say that you and your guy are in a relationship, and you guys are basically arguing, and basically he says something, right? He says something and he's like, you see, I'm just tired, man. I'm tired. But what you're interpreting that thing as is, I want to leave you. Why? Because your dad left you when you were younger. And so somewhere in your mind, you feel like you're not good enough, right, for someone to want to stay with you. And so in your relationship, you're thinking, hope this guy is not going to, maybe on a subconscious level, hope this guy is not going to see what my father saw in me. And so when he's making certain remarks that he doesn't mean directly, you interpret it in that way to suit your insecurities. And so he's saying one thing, you're interpreting it as another thing. So you're saying, so you want to walk out of this relationship. And he's like, when did I say that? Right? And it's like he doesn't understand you. Right? And to be honest, a lot of guys will not understand, because men are logical by nature. So a lot of guys will not be deep enough or to be emotionally intelligent enough to understand where exactly you're coming from, the root source, right? And so the guy will just feel like, this lady has issues, right? But there is someone that is crying out for help, basically. There is someone that is crying out, for help. And because the guy is not probably skilled enough to understand what you're going through, right? He gets fed up, and, he walks away. And so you're now in a series of, cycle, you're going around the clock, right? Moving from one person to another, looking for who can fill that void, looking for who can give you that assurance, right, that you missed at the foundational level. And you end up, going from one person to another. And the thing is that because you have not chased your healing, something, there's something tragic that is going to happen eventually. You're going to keep on meeting certain men, and a lot of times these men that you would meet are most likely going to be predators. And the reason why they are going to be predators is simple. So psychologically, there's something that's happened to you. Your dad ran away from you, or maybe he didn't run away, maybe he was just too busy for you. But let's go to the extreme. Let's say that your dad ran away from you, or let's say your dad left you. And so your dad represents a picture of incompetence, right? And so you're looking for something a little bit different, and you're looking for a picture of competence, right? And so when you meet certain people, they show you a picture of confidence. And what that basically means is that if you meet me, right, you don't know me from anywhere. Let's say that I repair generator, right? And then you ask me, can you repair the generator? And then I'm so confident, I'm like, of course, let me do this one, let me do that one, let me do that one. The first thing that comes to your mind is, I think this guy can get the job done. Why? Because I was confident enough, right? And then you want to give me a try. But if you ask me, can you fix the generator? And I said, I think I can. You immediately doubt what I'm saying. So what's my point? My point is that you're going to meet guys who are very confident, right? And sometimes the biggest predators are, to be honest, they're the most confident guys a lot of times. Not always, but a lot of times, right? I mean, you could trace it back from, high school. A lot of the players were people who were really confident, right? But again, there are people who give you the biggest breakfast, right? And so if you're not careful, you would be looking at the wrong signals, right? In a desperate search to fill that void that you have within you, right? And to be honest, a lot of these predators are just going to, identify your weakness, exploit it, and move on, right? And then the genuine guys that you would meet who might not, even understand what you're going through would just see you as someone who is too much baggage and walk away. And so you keep on going around that cycle, searching for something that could have been solved foundationally. And the simple question is, how do you get your healing? How do you attain that level of wholeness? How do you get to that point where, you're not that girl with daddy issues begging for love? You're not that person that is getting into a relationship from a point of emptiness. You're that person who is self-assured, who is getting into a relationship to build something better, something deeper, to create beautiful memories, to basically fulfill purpose. How do you get to become that person? Stay with me next week, and I'm going to talk about this in details, and ensure that at the end of the episode you come out a whole being. Thank you for staying with me this far. Bye.